Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Cable.
Here.
Commissioner Heisler. Here. Commissioner Jacobson.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Mathias.
Here.
Commissioner McHale.
Here. Okay, allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any changes to the agenda? Okay,
I move to approve the agenda.
second,
I would second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, matters from the public. Sheree?
It's Sherry.
Sherry?
I think I recognize most of you from last year, but there are some new faces here. So I'm Sherry LaBelle. I live on the channel between the whole park and the lake. And we've had these issues that have been ongoing, and I have a couple of different handouts that are sets of pictures. I have 10 copies of each of these. One says north and one says south. And some of you might have to share. I have quite enough for everybody. But maybe I'll tell you a little bit about the background here. So, when they started the Lippold water overflow project from the Lippold Park to the lake through the channel, and Hay and Associates were in charge of doing the filtering. And instead, we brought a bunch of muck into the channel, and it was, 3, 4, 5 feet of muck. And last year I came and I brought some newspaper articles where Hay and Associates had said on record, because it was in the Tribune and Northwest Herald, that they were responsible for that muck. The channel filter wasn't working adequately. So I know I left these articles before I went south last year. A couple of them I put down here in October of '99, where the president of Hayes said it would take 2 more years to adequately filter the silt-laced stormwater entering the Crystal Lake. They were 3 years behind. This is in '99. Then at the end of the year in December, in the Northwest Herald, he said a large amount of muck gets into the lake. There was 5 to 6 times the amount of silt entering the lake through the channel this year compared to last year. So they admitted it on record that this was happening. So now what's happening, as you can see in the pictures, the first one I'll talk about the north side of the pond. There's 3 pictures there. The top picture is the north pond in Lippold. The middle picture is the south side pond in Lippold. They're both filling with water lilies. The bottom picture is from my dock. So the white pillar is on the left side of my dock, looking towards where the entrance is from the channel. The upper left part is like white slough. It's coming in like full speed ahead from the corner, from the drain pipe. And then it gets clogged up between the white slough and then all these water lilies, which have come, I guess, because of all the rains we've had this year. We were in a drought, of course, before that. So on the next page, which is Van South End, that white pillar is on the right side of my dock, and that's going out to the lake. And the water lilies start to thin out as it's going out to the lake. The next 3 pictures I took from my kayak. So the one in the middle is showing the channel as it enters the lake. And you can see there's a lot of water lilies there. The next 2 pictures are the cabins on each side of the channel. So the one on the left is the left side as the channel comes out into the lake, full of water lilies. And then the one on the right is actually a brand new cabin. That gray cabin is a huge, gotta be a multi-million-dollar cabin. Their whole left side is full of water lilies. then their dock happens, and then their right side doesn't have any. So all of this, as they said before, goes through the channel, slides into the lake. So, I know when I left last year, I left a bunch of material with Jason for you guys to look over because that channel needs to get dredged. I know they said they fixed the problem now, but that's insignificant. That matters 20 years from now. What matters today is what's brought in for the last 25 years. That's a slew of muck. And I had even a record last year of police phone calls that we made because of kids coming to play in the muck. And sometimes we had a video of one screaming for help because they couldn't get out of the muck because it's 3 to 5 feet deep. And the people across the channel from me have 3 little children under 4. If one of them fell in, we'd never find them. They'd go right into the muck. The water's so brown, you can't even see down. So I don't know why this channel hasn't been dredged, as we talked about it last year. I'm assuming, Jason, that you shared with the commissioners that the park board tried to steal my property last year when I was gone. In December, the Chicago Title called me, sent me a letter.
Okay, that's not right. The park district didn't try and steal your property. What you got was a notice because I ran title on the property to determine if there was anything of record relative to the access. And so they told you that a title commitment was ordered for your property. It doesn't say anything, you should be aware of it. Jason told you this. No one tried to steal your property. It was a title commitment to check on the condition of your title.
That isn't true though, because I called them and I have the letter here.
Where does it say the park district tried to steal?
It says, right here, notice of pending real estate transaction, December 7th, escrow number 23 CND 144112BH. The buyers, the Crystal Lake Park District. We are delighted to be of service to you. We are in process of preparing a title commitment for the sale of your property.
That's because that's how it's recorded. It's not, the park district didn't try and steal your property. That's not what that's telling.
That's what they said though.
That they didn't, that's the only way that you can do it is to obtain a title commitment that way. No one tried to steal your property, ma'am.
Upon receipt of this letter, we would ask you to send us email to confirm the transaction or alternately to inform us that you are not selling the property to the proposed buyer.
Scott, you're right. That's just the form that they use for.
Well, then they lied to me.
They might.
Yeah, they did, because they called it fraud and they got an alert. I got an alert and they got an alert.
It's not legal.
Well, anyway, we still have this problem. And I know I talked to Russ Marr, who was significant in getting it dredged the last time. And what he had done is he hired an airplane and a photographer, and they took pictures of the pond going through the channel into the lake and the mud and the muck fanning out. And he said 2 days later, somebody came to the door and gave with a letter to get permission to dredge the lake. He also said he talked to an attorney who said he could sue for 3 times what he paid for the property. Once for loss of use of the property because we can't use our backyards now. Once because of the decrease in property value, and a 3rd time because of running silt across our property without our permission. It's our private property. So I'm still up in arms about this whole thing. I wanted to play nice. I haven't talked to an attorney because I thought you guys would take care of it. And I'm back here again and I'm angry. We have a whole coalition of people, but I wanted to take care of it without getting the whole group together again. And I need to know what your plan is.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate them. Anybody else have anything to say about? Like, you just never check your name, do you? You're like a spontaneous guy.
Oh, well,
Go ahead.
I signed my name and all that stuff. Jim Heister, 131 Baldwin, Mr. Lake. Just here to check up on, maybe, I should wait until item 12 on your agenda to listen in on anything that comes to the surface on what's happening with the barn. And, I'll just bide my time until then. Has anything happened? But maybe you'll talk about it.
No.
You know, that firm that was.
You're welcome to stay in with it. It's the barn situation isn't on the agenda.
Right.
So.
Okay.
I don't want to waste your time.
And you could just say that
Yeah.
the company has been out there doing the work.
Yeah. They've been out there.
Okay, I just didn't wanna, be the most.
And Jim, the consultant has been out twice. They spent a full day and a half, surveying inside and outside, and they also had the, structural engineering consultant,
Right.
sub-consultant out to evaluate. So they've been out there, and I spoke to, our consultant today, and she said, give us some time, but we'll be back, just like we had tentatively scheduled out how we're gonna be sharing the information and sharing it. We'll have a meeting soon with them, but they have a lot of work to do first.
Just checking in.
Yeah, so it's in process.
I took a drive around the barn and the wind didn't take any more shingles off.
Oh, there's a few more off.
Well,
Yeah,
look,
we need to,
better than some of the close-in neighbors.
yes,
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, folks.
thank you so much.
Okay, consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve? Or do I have to read out right now? Okay. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which, the voucher expenses for the month ending June 30th, 2024, in the amount of $861,389.98. The interim voucher expenses for the month ending July 31st, 2024, in the amount of $512,577.90. Treasurer's report for the month ending June 30th, 2024, in the amount of $18,411,211.40. Regular meeting minutes from June 20th, 2024. Crystal Lake Soccer Federation tournament requests, World Online event requests, and the Race Time Lady fundraiser event. You have a motion to do.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Cable?
Yes.
Commissioner Heisler?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson?
Yes.
Commissioner Mathias?
Yes.
Commissioner McGill?
Yes. Okay. Moved. Consent agenda, so new business action item. All right, motion is requested of the board to approve the bid for the Racket Club flooring renovation project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, did we get competitive? No, sorry. It's the next one I wanted to ask about. So, no comment.
Right? Okay, the amount, of 30, okay, a motion is requested to accept the lowest responsible bid submitted, Howell Flooring LLC, in the amount of $30,922.40 for the Racket Club flooring renovation project.
So that was our. So,
Yes. Yes. Okay. A motion is requested of the, oh, roll call.
Commissioner Cable?
Yes.
Commissioner Heisler?
Yeah.
Commissioner Jacobson?
Yes.
Commissioner Mathias?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner McGill?
Okay. The motion is requested of the board to approve bid for the Racket Club indoor courts resurfacing project, which was submitted by U.S. Tennis Court Construction Company in the amount of $66,660 with the addendum for the Racket Club indoor courts resurfacing project.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Any discussion?
But did we not get competitive bids on this?
You got it.
We went out to bid for it. They were the only ones that ended up submitting a bid for it. initially we had thought last year when we were kind of putting together our pricing grid for everything, we anticipated closer to 80,000. So when we got some estimates, we were pretty happy with what we got. And the flooring stuff, there's a few more companies that do that. Tennis club resurfacing is kind of a smaller niche.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Heisler?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson?
Yes.
Commissioner Mathias? Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Gable?
Yes.
Commissioner McGill?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great.
I move to approve the Crystal Lake Soccer Federation request for a liquor permit and certain liquor.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I just think we should give them a chance to do it. The reasons for not doing it are all, pretty ordinary common reasons, right? That you expect. But I've been to lots of these tournaments and I haven't seen any of them come true. They could come true in any event, right? So I think with being over parental, I think they're a good affiliate. I think we should give them a chance.
That's one question here, but is this something that's gonna recur, on a yearly basis, this tournament?
It may, the tournament does.
Yeah, okay, so it would be, if you tried it, and then there was no issues, and it was found it was successful, and they were able
I think that's a reasonable approach.
to get some decent kickback or whatever from the proceeds of it.
We had a really robust discussion at the board about whether we should allow alcohol anywhere at any time. And we agreed at that time that we would allow alcohol with permits, for special events and sales at special things. We wanted to separate out alcohol from kids' events. Kids' events are, parents can use it, right?
Well, that would be a concern, for sure.
Yeah, and alcohol is. We had members of the board who didn't like alcohol under any circumstances in the parks, that we shouldn't be in the alcohol business. So separating out no kids helped get us alcohol under certain circumstances. I do think keeping that line there is a good thing.
Is that a minimum? Maximum, and they're not gonna serve kids.
Well, no, that's not. I understand that. You are-
No, you mean quantity.
I think quantity, not how many. I think three, they're saying that three would make the maximum. Like I said, I go to Rockford and these other places, and they serve, I think those tournaments are more fun, right? It's nice to go grab a beer. Again, all the reasons for not doing it are alcohol related to Indian, right? So I think softball serves
But they
alcohol.
don't want-
Right, I think that might be a group that's maybe even more, 20 years, maybe even more prone to having a good time. Maybe not, I don't know. But I think the soccer parents are responsible group. I would say no less than any.
So we don't have any, I think in the description of the event that we've already approved, didn't it say that we're not going to have policing outside policing?
Normally, we assign an officer to the park that day and they're billed for that. I believe that's what we've done.
I'd say if this were to go through, we'd say you have to have an officer on duty at all times.
So we wouldn't actually be able to approve this tonight because we need to rewrite the contract with them. The request would need to be rewritten to include an officer.
I would just add that onto the invoice. We do that with a lot of rentals where it's like, hey, this is what the rental's gonna look like. And then as it kind of shapes and, kind of takes form after a while, we'll adjust that. But I wouldn't feel comfortable having it out there without an officer. Also, just one thing to note, this is still not approved through the city either. They would have to get a temporary permit through the city. And then we as a district have kind of made the case, we're not gonna let anybody serve alcohol on our property that's not us serving it.
That's what we do for softball as well.
So softball, it's all us. So we have a supervisor on duty the entire time. Our staff serves everything. I don't know if I feel comfortable. Well, I think it's pretty clear how I feel on this in general, but if it were to pass, I don't know if I feel comfortable at all just having John Q. parent or a Bassett certified person that we don't know serving alcohol, to the additional people. Correct. Well, I don't know how the adult does it, but I think that's probably how it is.
But Kurt, if I'm not mistaken, Chris Lake Brewery served some beer at some of our events before.
They have, in terms of being part of, like, they'll be with the regatta, which is more of a park district
And then we just oversee
event.
that.
Yes,
But they've been approved to do that.
correct. Now, this still, again, because for our softball, we get special event permits from the city for every single softball day. We don't have, like at Main Beach, we have a liquor license for the whole property. At Bonkoski and at Lippold, we apply for every single one. So this, once, if this were to get approved, we'd have to then still, they'd have to still apply for a liquor special event at the city. And then we would have to figure out how we're gonna staff this.
I have two questions. One is, Kathy, what were you saying about I don't remember being part of that
I think it was a while ago.
question. Oh, okay, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
But, and then second of all, if that's the case, why are we doing it softball?
Softball is for adults. And at the time, like Kathy was saying, the board made the decision for youth sports. That's where we draw the line. We talked about making an official policy. We never got that far. It was more of just kind of a standard practice of like, hey, we're not going to do this.
I'm gonna do policies.
I mean, if, let's say there was a softball tournament going on at the same time as the soccer tournament, could a parent from the soccer go over to the softball field and get beer?
We don't, when the soccer tournament goes on like that Saturday and Sunday, we see softball operations.
So big, it needs to go.
Yeah.
So staff came on pretty strongly against this. Can you explain more what your concerns were?
Sure. I mean, I just think in general, it's a terrible idea. If I'm being blunt, I'm involved with the soccer federation. I volunteer coach. It has been nothing but good for me and my kids. This is just something where I just don't see eye to eye with that. I'm worried about the precedent set because as soon as this gets approved, we're going to have the Raiders here next month going, well, why can't we sell alcohol at our jamboree? We're going to have Little League going, well, why can't we sell alcohol at this event? If we're going to allow it for one, we're going to allow it for all. I worry.
Step further, if we're going to do that, then why don't we just sell it?
Yeah, if you've been to the soccer tournament, it's such a massive thing. There are people and cars everywhere. And I worry a little bit. We already have problems sometimes on Saturdays of people bringing alcohol in a cup like this. And then to also have it just being sold and out in the open, I just fear that there's no benefit to the park district at all. And so I just don't know. I really don't want to start going down that road and talking with, our safety team and talking with the police. Pretty much everyone's like, again, we like the soccer federation, but no, this is a bad idea.
I'd say from a medical standpoint, is that something that should be in how to use the back?
Yeah, and I mean, this is something where having been a coach, I'm aware of the emails that get sent out from the federation. They're like, hey guys, make sure you are on your best behavior when talking to referees. There's already at times parent behavior problems when there's no alcohol at games where scores are not kept. And so I just get worried that that they run a really good tournament. They get good teams and they're competitive teams. You all of a sudden now get competition thrown in for teams that have come from all over the Midwest, and there's alcohol, and it's all day Saturday, all day Sunday. It just, as someone that's supposed to look out for the best interests of the park district, I feel that it's just not something that would be good for us or for the event.
I've been to more soccer tournaments than I can shake the stick at the highest level of soccer, youth soccer. And the better tournaments they commonly serve alcohol. And I don't notice any more problem at those tournaments than I do at the tournaments that don't. The better park districts, Rockford, the great facilities, they have they serve. So I agree that these things can happen. People can abuse alcohol, but
think we should give it a shot.
My concern is in the implementation. I have absolutely been to baseball tournament where they serve alcohol and fine, but the implementation of how it's done is really important. I agree that I don't think it should be the soccer federation who's necessarily doing it, whether it's their volunteers or somebody that's completely unvetted by us serving. So my question to you is, with this kind of a tight turnaround that we have soon, this tournament,
Yeah, it's in about a month.
if this passed, what kind of a time crunch would that look like for us? Is that even realistic for us to be able to secure that permit and to be able to have staff available for that?
I can't answer the staff question. I honestly don't know. That would purely have to be a call to find out. The permit, I think we could get that from the city in time. It has to go in front of the city council. But for the most part, when we've had to do that before, it's been a pretty quick turnaround. So the question that I would have for them is just confirming, because it's on our property, would we actually be the ones applying for the permit, or would the soccer federation be that?
And I think it also brings up the question of, not tonight, but at a later date, does the board want to look at whether we want to have park staff sell alcohol at youth events going forward?
Right, so that's an issue we haven't had to deal with adequate carding and that. I mean, if it's an adult-only event that our staff is trained to deal with, right?
Mhm.
Like, what is the added level of education that you would say?
They have a layout that they proposed. I don't know if we'd have to look at that, and just see the current, some of the areas where there's access points. I don't know if that would work, but if that's the direction we go, we can always make anything work. We can figure stuff out. Just would be take a little time.
I don't know if we have enough information about how some of these other tournaments are, when they're hosted, how do they do it? Is it
I
a
don't know, I
similar
just find it
situation?
weird.
Right.
We do it already. Couple of ways. So I propose that my motion is we approved it as presented, with reasonable restrictions by staff. And let them roll with it.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, that's.
We did have a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other discussion before we do roll call?
Rather see us not go forward with this tonight and have a more general discussion of if we wanted to implement it and have park staff.
It sounds like this already is happening, not at the youth event, but it sounds like you have a process in place with the softball tournament, right?
Not tournaments,
Or
softball
the
leagues.
softball league.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like, there's
It's
always.
just a different volume of.
It's a different volume, and we wouldn't,
Right.
we wouldn't want to set up the layout the exact same way. We'd probably want to do something different. We'd have to figure out, like, okay, who's technically ordering the beer? Is it going to be us? Is it going to be them? How is the money going to be handled? If we're selling it, do we get all of the profits? Do they get any of the profits? Those kind of things. They sound small, but they're questions that we'd probably want to get squared away.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Jacobson,
I'm gonna say no.
Mr. Mathias,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson, Mr. Cable.
No.
Mr. Heisler,
Yes.
Mr. McHale,
No.
3-3 tie.
Okay, what do we do? Three times. Oh. Okay. Is there another motion that the majority would agree with?
Is there anything that,
Well, I'm just based on.
make you a yes?
Based on what the staff's concerns are, and based on me being a coach of youth sports for a long, long time, and knowing, you know, okay, I'm just gonna put this perspective out there. England has professional soccer, and you don't serve alcohol at a professional soccer. So, and there's reasons for that, and I know that it's probably unlikely that you're gonna have issues, but even if it's one person, no one's gonna wanna deal with that. I just know, I just, being coaching in games, you get parents that get irate. On sport clock at the high school all the time, you have parents in the stands that, you know, I don't know. I mean, and you've been to the soccer tournaments and you know what they're like. I mean, I've not been to a soccer tournament in a long time, but. And then the other perspective is that, you know, it sets the precedent for youth sports that, you know, I mean, I just think that, you know, having it around kids may not be the best precedent.
You know,
I
the
mean,
Mac,
rationally,
the Mac
but.
doesn't. The Mac.
But I'm just wondering, like, are some of these other tournaments, are they on private field? Is it a park district? Based on the idea that I don't know the logistics of how they do it. I mean, at first I was thinking I'd be willing to try it, but just based on the fact that our staff's got a lot of really good points, I tend to want to support. They're the ones that are gonna have to deal with the implications, not us.
We just hosted a summer kickoff, great tournament, they serve alcohol, no problems. I've been on the board 6 years, we have a parent issue, 1 or 2 parent issues a year, never has been alcohol related. And
Yeah, I'm in favor of opening the discussion. I don't think there's enough time for this to implement stuff. I'm totally in favor of having a discussion on what are the safe ways to implement.
And if I had some more information how the other tournaments, how they're able to do it, and if they've had any issue, that.
We can certainly research that.
Now, do you know, Jason, is it the hockey rink that we serve alcohol there?
They're building a bar in Crystal Lake right now in the rink, but my experience has been the opposite of what Eric was describing. It tends to fuel issues in ice rinks.
I would agree. I mean, I just know,
Maybe that's.
being on the hockey rinks, in most cases, they don't normally have. Boulder don't used to.
Yeah, but you could bring it out of the bar. And that's what they
Yes,
say
that's
a lot of
true.
these places, but that's necessary. But yeah, my experience has.
I mean, if they were selling it and you couldn't go by the field and you just had to drink it in a certain area, maybe that's a way to solve the problem. I don't know.
I think that's what we propose, that's why it's nice to have it over by the softball fields, because they walk 500 feet, and we're not gonna allow them, you know, to bring alcohol out of that area. As best we can.
Okay, so do we have an amended motion?
No.
That everybody, it doesn't sound like we do. Okay, so in that case, the motion stays where it was. Carried. Can I say though, that I think it would be good to potentially look into, is there a way to do this that people feel comfortable with? That works for the park district. I don't know what you're asking. Can we look into it? Can staff look into it? So we can have a discussion.
Yeah, I would be up.
Yeah, we can research a little bit more to find out some of the places that would maybe give us a better. level of doing that.
At this time, I don't have that one.
Okay, discussion items. Goal.
So, not really much to comment on other than provide you first quarter update on where we're at with the annual goals. A lot of things moving, a lot of things in progress. I also included in there a list that shows projects that are currently in this year's budget and being worked on and where they're at as far as being started, completed, when they're scheduled for, things like that, just to keep the board updated on that as well. So unless you have any questions, I'm going to
I like this one then. Good, thank you.
Anything else? The email was sent to the board, a while back, and Sarah forwarded it to me. And, Eric and I met with, John Farina and Preston, Center Manager of Natural Resources, to kind of talk about, the feelings on this. And mountain biking, seems to, it obviously goes on out of Veteran Acres. Staying where it's supposed to stay, does present its challenges. Our trails are fairly well marked now with what trails should be used for what activity. And, up to the chase, the staff feels that what's currently going out there is appropriate. We don't know that we need to, align ourselves with one of these groups. We're not sure what the benefit would be.
So is this group similar to the one that does the one over by the Raceway Woods?
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's a pretty, I mean, it's a pretty large area and you kind of,
They put
You-
money
you-
into that too.
yeah, you can kind of notice it when you're going through there, but it is pretty disruptive.
Ecological.
Yeah. And so that, I don't know, based on our vision of what we got our nature center over there, I'm not sure how to come on.
But the idea of this Bill Akers was a good friend and talked this over at our dinner table endlessly. And his idea was that having a citizen group of users, that they could be self-responsible and be a help to the park district and help people keep on the trails and notice, because they would be on the trails perhaps more than our staff would be, they could notice when erosion issues were happening and close off the trails and communicate, avoid this area of plantings going on and things like that.
Now, do they have resources to purchase like those mesh grids and all that stuff that reduce the
I don't think so. And Bill's letter here sounds like he hasn't made headway with the group. I haven't spoken with him in
I know
quite
if
a
you go
while.
to Kettle Marine, they've got all these mesh things that they install, and it costs money. They got way more money.
I mean, if he wants to form some group like the park district, we can't, you know what I mean? That's
Right.
like kind of on him. He can do that. And it doesn't sound like it's organized though, at all.
One of the concerns John and Preston both brought up was like aligning ourselves with one of these groups. Is it going to bring more people from out of the park district to use this for that purpose, which then is going to create
Probably.
bigger
Yeah, I would
issues
think
for
they
us?
probably would.
And that's part of where they were coming from, was we'd like to stay away from that because there's enough people out there using it now. If we had all of these out of towners, is it going to make the challenges they face regularly even worse? So.
And the cycling shops in town have bike clubs and blah, blah, blah. So it's part of it.
Okay, so anybody have anything else they want to say about this? To me, it's a matter of like, they can organize, or they can, like that's not for us to dictate, regulate what these people do with their hobby. But I think it would be nice to have a response that says, we appreciate open communication. So if this group does get to the point where they organize and they want to apprise us of, what their plans are, and when we get to that point, let us know. I think that would be good, to just maintain an open
I would agree with that.
line of communication. I can tell you as a trail runner, there's some mountain bike issues out there. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased against mountain biking. I think mountain biking is awesome, but I've almost been hit multiple times by mountain bikes on trails that they shouldn't be on. Out in certain, like the single track, highly erodible trails. They're specifically marked for mountain bikes not to be on.
It's really hard to enforce that. Yeah.
Oh, super hard. Yeah.
But
And I literally pointed at the sign and I was like, you see how mountain bike is not on that sign, not allowed. They didn't like.
Yeah, I'll just say that was a suggestion.
So, so have we considered having a police officer in the parking lot on Friday nights, right? Friday night was a big mountain bike night in the park, and, you know, maybe weekends, 2 hours every weekend to just greet people unloading like mountain bikes and saying, this is the policy in this park. Welcome, we're glad you're here, this is the policy. Would that be of any help to you, Sarah?
We have very, very limited police, you know, and so if that's not pulling them away from more pressing matters, sure. If we know for a fact that that's like a scheduled thing where these people are guaranteed to show up and it's not gonna be a waste of anybody's time, I
I
don't see
mean,
anything wrong with that.
my concern is that if you just keep them on the trail that we allow, that's not what they're looking
That's part of the issue.
Pretty much.
for. Yeah, I mean, because if you go over to
It's not
Westwood
fun.
Woods, you can see the extreme.
Yep.
Way that they've transformed it, and
Yep.
that they're looking for that. They're not-
Oh, and they built some illegal trails and they've done modifications.
Oh,
So
sure.
Stearns, we see it.
And there's areas that when we see those, that Eric staff won't go in and maintain them, they'll let them get over. So that, those types of.
You have to go up on that hill. I can't believe some of these guys.
Right, and I think that's part of it is, you know, not everybody, most people are great about this stuff, but it's the smaller minority that aren't. Once we start calling attention to, you know, Stearns, it's a bike place.
Then more
It could
people
potentially
show up.
create more.
I mean, we get promoted on social media too, that, you know, stay on your trail based on what the signage
Yeah.
indicates.
Yeah, I think that's a positive way to do it. Like, this is an allowable use.
Yeah. So,
But-
so,
Yeah, and to stress that the impact that it can have on these highly erodible gravel hills, that's what that is above the fence. And that's, when they're riding their bikes down that, it's
It's on
crazy.
Glacial Hill.
Yeah, it's crazy the erosion that happens. So, yes. Okay. Anything else in there?
would you like me to send some sort of response that before it's talking about it? We want to form a group that's association with them,
Sure, but to maintain,
communication.
Yeah.
Yes, if there's.
Yeah.
some-
yes.
Let's just say thank you. Let's stay in touch. Or even say, let's go ahead and form a group.
Do that.
Okay, park naming contest.
So this took off like gangbusters. I'll let Jenny, let everybody know where we're at and the next steps in that.
Okay, as Jason mentioned, we had a great response. We had 203 overall entries. 2 were set aside due to some of our profanity guidelines, things like that. We had 113 online submissions, 88 entry box written entries. We had locations for entry boxes at the library. They brought in about 24 entries. The senior center had 6. City of Crystal Lake had 3. Village of Lakewood had 0. Main Beach had 2. The admin office here had 11. The concerts in the park table had 5, and Racquet Club had 1. And then we also had some written entries, people handing us slips of paper, some staff entries, things like that, for a total of 36 of those, for a grand total of 201. 11 of the names on the list were multiple time suggestions, whether 4 different people. We did track household information, email. So they were 4 different households. We had a couple twosies. So those are indicated on the information you're going to get tonight. After tonight's meeting, I will send, myself or Jason will send out an email with a link to our voting or board voting platform. We are requesting everybody to review the information. It'll be a pretty simple process. We'd like your vote submitted by Monday, the 22nd at noon. And the way the portal is set up, All 201 names are listed. It's far too many to rank. So the best system we could come up with is a check mark system where the voting platform will allow you to check up to 15 names. So what you're gonna see are names only. Some of the names will have 4 submissions, 2 submissions, so you'll know the ones that had multiple submissions. You can select up to 15. I also added a box in there if you have a name suggestion you didn't see on the list, feel free to throw it in there. And then secondly, if after reviewing all 201 names, if there's a feeling that not having a comfort level of moving forward to a public vote, we did write that in the contest guidelines that it could come down to a Board of Commissioners decision. So there will be a box for that as well. Just a quick thing, on the entry forms, we ask people for, to provide a reason for their suggestion. So there will be a separate PDF attachment with each park name alphabetized and exactly as the person wrote it, their reason. Some of them didn't have reasons, but if you're pondering where did that came from, where did that come from on the list, you can kind of flip back and forth between the PDF. It should not take very long. It might take long. You don't have to select 15. It's up to 15 names. From those 7 votes, potentially 15 each person, we will take the top 5 and go to public vote if that's what the board decides. So I will be available for email questions. I'm guessing it would be okay for me to send the email after tonight's meeting, be pretty self-explanatory.
Could the board see the top 5 before you make them?
Oh, yes, yeah, that will be in the email. Definitely, there will be, we will not forge ahead without a public vote until there's a
You'll
review
see the
by,
top 5. And you can say, and that's what's on top of the public vote. No.
yeah, I mean, it's such a significant thing. I would, if everybody was not 100% comfortable with coming up with an amazing park name from the list, I would hope that we would pull back on the public vote part of
Did
things.
you find names that you liked?
Yeah, yeah, there were some interesting ones. There was one that was very surprising that had 4 different people suggested. I don't know necessarily that I could envision the park being called that, but yeah. I think it was interesting. Some people actually did go to the background information on the land and the history that Amy had prepared, and you could tell from some of people's suggestions that they had actually done that. So that was good to see. Some people had some very interesting takes on the contest, and you know, name it after my dog, that type of thing. So they were really all over the board. So you will see within the 200. And, you know, I hope we could come to something as a result of the contest, but it is such a huge thing to name this park that we also need to take that into huge consideration. So
Thank you for all the work on it, and we will get our votes in by Monday.
thank you.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah, I can tell. All right, so within the state community feedback meeting, there was a lot.
So Amy and I attended the meeting out at Woodland Estates on June 26th, and we had an awesome turnout, between 45 and 50 people, and everyone very engaged in the discussion and thoughts on what they want to see. Just as an aside, the one person we really wanted to speak to was the person whose house was directly next to where the court area is. And thankfully, she showed up, and we had some good conversations with her about.
Is she the one talking about working from home, where she hears everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a
She
decent
Didn't say she
resident. So she just moved.
She didn't say she didn't want the courts there, and she wouldn't get in the way, but she's not. But it was very, very nice. But overall, it was a fantastic meeting. Just a really nice neighborhood, really good neighbors, very concerned about what's going in the park. And I think we got some really solid direction by being there and reaching out. I'll let Amy roll with it.
Yeah, so based on their responses, you all have examples, but I can bring the board to share. The biggest preference was to keep tennis court and to have pickleball goals. So, and then they were very excited about the idea of a larger picnic shelter, and they specifically requested, we had suggested it, a porta potty. They actually asked for a bathroom with the cost to run utilities when we have no utilities to the site. We have no electrical, we have no water, we have no sewer to the site. It would be expensive. So, but we can provide a porta potty and we can make it nice. Maybe accessible porta potty and fence it in, because we do get sadly get some damage in this park pretty consistent or bigger.
And there's a lot of teams that practice out there,
Yeah.
specifically with soccer, and so that's kind of a problem. We don't have someone who goes.
Yeah.
That was a good recommendation.
I like the comment, quite a few residents say they open their doors, they open their houses, so people, the kids can use their bathroom in the house. So I thought, wow, what a great community, that they do that for their, for their children. So that was really a nice thing to hear from my heart. So, and then they were very interested, to hear about, they wanted shade by the playground. So we're looking into providing some kind of shade at the existing picnic table and bench, or possibly having a shade sail over the octagonal shaped pavement area that we have left once the shelter and the gazebo was taken down. I did bring larger boards. If you wanted to see the larger boards, I can set those out too. After reviewing the comments and stuff, I revised Plan B, Concept B, and to the different comments, and so that's what I'm recommending the board consider for moving forward with.
Amy, what did you revise on the two different Bs?
So I added the toilets, I
Okay.
relocated the shelter to a different orientation.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I don't show is this shade sail, because that will be an alternate cost based on, costs, as we know, have gone up, so we're gonna make sure we're mindful of the budget.
So we're just looking for a consensus from the board to move forward to get the engineering completed on Plan B, and we're ready to roll in the fall.
That sounds good. We have to vote on it.
The vote is, everyone's looking. We need to vote on everything.
So I would like to bring up something else, which is, I think it would be helpful for the board if we came up with basic what we'd like to see in every park at each different level, and then had a base budget. This is a fairly large park, but just because we were given a large piece of land, does that mean that the community is entitled to a more expensive park than maybe a different community that was granted a smaller piece of land? I think parks should be kind of equitable for neighborhoods. And I'm concerned that just because it's bigger, it got more expensive. It's a pricey neighborhood, Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, plus you got the location, it's right off the back road.
This.
No, it's off of, like, walkout-ish.
This is your old neighborhood.
This is
This
north
is the other side of Hillside.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, over,
You're thinking of Wood Street.
I was thinking of Wood Street. Oh, Woodland Estates. That's the one that has the trail that runs around the,
Well,
there's wetlands. Okay, yeah, okay.
So half the trails are HOA and the asphalt trails are ours.
And I'm also concerned that, I can't say the board wanted, I had hoped that we would downgrade the quality of things, downgrade the expense of things we were putting into the park instead we're expanding them. If the shelter is rentable and it can help address the fact that we don't have enough rentable shelters, then I think that's okay. But it's also concentrating rentable shelters close to Veterans Acres, you know, they're all kind of
close.
in the same area. And this is a park that's hard for the public to find. I've had people say they cannot find this park.
It's
So
kind
is
of
it,
hidden.
pardon?
It is kind of hidden.
It is, so is it the place to put in rentable shelters? Is it the place to put in more money when community can't find it?
I think there's a ton of people in those neighborhoods around that part of the city. My son used to play soccer there. Back in the day when he was a
Well,
player.
It's a very walkable park.
When we rent shelters, do they have a list of all the available shelters that we have to rent?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I mean, if they saw that on the list,
Is this size of shelter is being proposed a rentable
Yes, it
shelter
is.
size?
It is. We also have parking here. The parks
Right,
that are
right.
smaller tend not to have parking or as much parking. So
Right.
that was a consideration as to why we put a little bit larger shelter here that my intent would be for us to rent. It's not super large shelter, but to Kathy's point, it is larger. I did show options of downsizing and stuff, and this was, the preference was for having.
No one's ever gonna choose the downside, but if you go and say, this is our budget, and this is our options, what menu options would you like in our park that fall within the budget? I think it helps control the conversation on what we're putting in a little bit better.
And we did talk budget with them. You know, some people asked what we had budgeted, so we shared that and let them know that, you know, while this is everything you want, there may be some downsizing based on prices. Affordable based
A couple of people, not just the person who lived right next to the courts, but there was a question of could we move the courts to where the volleyball is? And I did get a rough number from Joel Hamilton, and that was at $250,000 plus over our budget.
well, there's 2 tennis courts there already, right?
There's currently 2 tennis courts and a basketball court, so we're not enlarging the footprint.
You're just changing the
Yeah.
1 tennis court into 4.
Right. If I enlarge the amount of hardscape, which we will be for the shelter, but we are removing a sidewalk that, and we're adding permeable paving and making the basketball court area a little bit smaller. This is a concept. This was me doing a concept plan. The actual engineering that Joel Hamilton started, we are incorporating some permeable paving to meet our stormwater requirements so that we are apples to apples. We're not increasing any stormwater or impervious on this site project.
And I haven't been over there in a while, but are the trails that go around there, have those been upgraded at all?
So that's part of the project would be, again, we would do alternates to see where we fall in our budget. So, the base project would be the courts renovation and then, the parking lot, and then we add to that based on cost.
Did you guys disclose to the community that we could rent their shelters?
It's an option that they can put down for.
And other community members get away with that.
We did like the 4 pickleball option. Typically, when sports are developed, they're developed in blocks of 6, but this will kind of it'll help limit the activity of that use. And I think that was very sellable to the neighbors as far as.
So you said we don't have any water, that means we don't have any water fountains. Do we have, aren't water fountains normal in areas that have sports courts?
If there's water available, yes.
Yeah. I don't know.
See that.
A water fountain.
They kind of seem like they're becoming this thing of the past. And
A lot of people bring their own water in a water bottle.
I think if there's a bathroom, sure, we normally find water at like sports events. If there's a bathroom, if there isn't an existing bathroom.
Only if it's potable water bathroom.
Yeah.
I will point out there was a request to put some signage down the street. What's the street's name? To guide one to the park here, because they all felt there were quite a few people who commented that we need better signage to find our park, that people know where our park is. And we
Yeah,
want
that's
to sign.
Neighborhood people want other people to find it, right? That's good.
It's a hidden gem of a park.
It is a great park.
It is. The walking trail is amazing. Just gotta wear a hat while the blackbirds are out.
It's a good place to cross country ski if we ever get snow.
Great, so,
So we'll move on with that. Then.
Great, thank you.
local stormwater report. This was a doozy.
This was basically just an update, you know, we asked, if I, geez. The. Yeah, basically, we highlighted our concern, areas of concern, and they, put together a plan of attack. Well, wanted to understand the water flow and where we're having issues and what can be done, and then they put together some recommendations. And those recommendations have been very helpful because it's guiding us in our development for phase one of Mickey Sun and also some repair work at Von Klasky and dealing with some stormwater drainage issues we have on site. So this is very exciting news. There's so much more to be done at Lipple, but this is, you know, this is our starting step of reevaluating stormwater at the park. So it's great.
So one question I had, and I don't know, we might not be at the stage yet where we address that, but you know, they were talking about 100-year flood line, the 10-year flood line. How obviously cost is going to be extremely prohibitive and stormwater management is going to be really hard if we truly want to address it at that 100-year level. The 10-year level, hey, maybe that's, you know, able to be done, but they didn't detail what that would be. What would that 10-year plan be to, not the 10-year plan, the plan to address the 10-year flood line, like within right field of that one particular field? They didn't really get into that at all. So I don't know if we're at that stage where those details are discussed yet, or if that's like further down the line.
So they're addressing that in the development for Mickey Sun. For example, Mickey Sun Complex, Field 4. So they, that's what they're working on is putting in the storm drain. What they're proposing is addressing. But is it addressing the 100-year versus the 10-year? My goal, my understanding from Tom is that it's addressing the 10-year.
Right, so that's what I was wondering, what is that? Because like with the 100-year, they were talking about literally regrading, like up a foot, which is ambitious to me in that zone right there. But the 10-year, and maybe I missed it in the 129-page report, but I mean, do you have details about what is that 10-year solution?
Well, they did actually show the drawings.
Okay,
And that's that to mitigate the storm, the water issues at the soccer field, it's doing that drain tile. And then for Mickey Sun, it's regrading and the swale, making sure that whole drainage system is in the outlet. There's the pipe underneath the walk path that's not functioning quite right, so they're gonna add another pipe, another drain to get it toward the west pond. So it's that work there that we're talking about right now. And then again, raising up a little bit field 4, doing drain tile in the gravel perimeter on the
Warning track.
the morning track,
Yeah.
thank you. So doing that will address the water for the Mickey Sun project. So we're starting to work with Mickey Sun project to deal with the stormwater.
right, which I appreciated. This is great. I think that's, and the problems with the soccer field and the problem at Krosky and at the golf learning center and how it's all connected. I get that.
But do we have money for it all right now? No, we do not have.
But it makes sense to do those two areas because they're connected to the Sun project, so all of that
Sure.
makes sense.
Anything else on that?
Just for discussion.
Glad we're moving forward. All right, okay, well then there's the Mickey Sun project. update.
Yeah.
There you go.
The Sun complex. So, you know, the focus for phase 1 is, as I list out here, is fencing, the concrete work for the dugouts and the dugouts themselves, foul poles, and improvements to electrical service, the batting cages, and possibly shade structures, not including the dugouts. The dugouts will all have shade for those. and then field 3 and 4 improvements for drainage. So it's basically, I wanted to kind of let you know that the Walt Hamilton is working on the design drawings right now, and our schedule is to go out to bid soon, as I mentioned here, so that we can start construction this fall, and go to winter, and we'll finish up in the spring.
Soon.
It's very aggressive.
Yeah.
They are working really hard on it all, so I'll come back up.
Would we want to rename the Mickey Sun complex at that point when it's rehabbed?
I don't know, we've got to find out who Mickey Sun is first before we do that. Should not want to. I'm being honest, I mean.
Well, that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
Right?
Point well taken. So we can certainly look at that. We got the blueprint for the naming contest.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Anderson.
Can I ask a quick question? The sculpture that's out there, is there any,
Good sculpture.
the baseball sculpture?
Yeah, that will probably stay put. Dedicated to Jim Safe.
Is it, while they're working on fencing and concrete, do we work around it or?
Which yours? Okay, moving.
Okay, moving on to the Emmanuel Lutheran property potential.
So there's a developer looking to develop a property across the street from Emmanuel Lutheran, along the train tracks there. For those that remember, property partners have looked into a lot, kind of go if that helps you with your bearings, but they've gone in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission once and were turned down by City Council. So they're taking another stab at it, and part of that is to, there was some resistance from the neighbors to the north of that area that don't want to see this type of housing built there. So part of their new plan is to see if they could include parking there. And Amy and I have had some up and back with the developer, just expectations and things like that. And really, I just wanted to bring it to the board to see, one, if there's an interest in a park there, or if we would just take the cash donation, the developer fee. Someone, I just put in the memo where the closest parks are, so it is a little bit of a walk to get to the closest parks, but I don't know that with the space that they're suggesting would provide us with a very decent park for that.
Are you taking into consideration, we have the conservation district trail and, because that's really quite walkable, it's quite lovely.
You got the property at Crest Lake Central for, you could use that, or use that. If you walk a little bit further, you got Hudson Elementary too.
And I just, we have a board policy on when to accept property. It would have been good to have that. To consider what we wanted to take into consideration, but I would be pretty much strongly opposed to building a park that we had to maintain a 220 person development.
I mean, they can make their own park.
Do we have a number of those other apartments that they built on Main Street and Crystal Lake Avenue? How many units have there?
Yeah, this was shocking to me.
Um,
I can't imagine that there's 220. Man, this seems like that's a lot bigger.
I think there's 90.
That's a lot, 220.
Not to mention Long Village. That's a lot of apartments.
Then across the street from Main Street, yeah, right along Congress Parkway.
Long Village, the 14.
Oh, and then they have the one over by Congress Parkway too.
Yeah.
If they build their own park, ask for credit, that's.
That's something to take. That would be part of the process. Actually, Feinberg Park is the closest park to. It's the closest park, there's.
Well, it's part district, but
Right.
But then you've got.
Three Oaks is 1.7.
Well, and you've got the
Well,
conservation.
I was trying to.
Yeah, the
The way the crow flies.
It's not,
Well,
it's a throughway.
but it is park from along Main on the other side of 14th. I mean, that's quite perfect there. All the parking, and, I mean, it's fairly dense.
Yeah, across from the entrance to Three Oaks there.
Why were they denied?
Density.
Yeah, the
It was the
city
density.
council didn't, from my understanding, didn't like the density of
Right.
having that much housing.
So
Because they feel the cities get, my interpretation, person following too, is that the city's starting to feel there's too much dense housing being developed in Crystal Lake, which is part single family.
Is where they're
Which
developed,
there isn't a lot of.
that area where they're developing by Three Oaks Recreation Area, is that gonna be just single homes?
No.
That's all, another, that's.
No, that's condos or apartments.
Apartments, you don't see them.
And then there's gonna have some,
There's another proposal for the property where current used to be on Main Street, right before Hyatt Road.
and that wasn't there some environmental concerns on that?
Yeah, that was,
Hyatt.
No, what he's talking about.
well, that isn't done.
Okay, so
So should I just let them know we're only interested in impact fees, the money?
okay. Reports to the board.
Three quick things to add, Park Foundation's Regatta is this Saturday. I put a few passes, in front of you if you're interested in attending. They've got 58 boats. And last time I ran, they had 30 or mid 40, so, huge influx. The week before registration. So, Eric said a huge amount of cardboard's disappeared from the maintenance garage, so, anticipated running from about noon till 2:30, now we're looking about 5, so. Should be a good day, so if you're around, stop on by. The election process for, the park board, the election, authority down in Springfield has changed the process to moving it 4 weeks earlier. So if you plan on running in the next election, the materials are going to be available in August, so usually they're available in September. So that's a change that we were just notified of on Tuesday. Last thing, for the past 3 or 4 years, Main Beach has hosted the Monarch Family Fun Fair. It's put on by the,
A lot of groups.
yeah, so I won't try to mess
Yeah.
that up. So
Yeah.
it's a rental, type group that the park district built. And, we were just informed that the U.S. Secretary of the Interior may be attending that this year. It's typically a relatively light attended event, but, that could all change. But, just wanted to give everybody the heads up.
There's a lot of people like. I usually work.
Yeah.
So.
Because if the U.S. Secretary of the Interior shows up, we might want to put it on the park.
I was planning on having volunteers do it this year.
When is that?
August 11th.
Someday.
And with that, with what's going on with that, we're gonna be getting about, well, I won't say the amount, but a lot of additional plants to plant in the monarch garden or the pollinator garden for monarchs. Each in the triangle that's near the entrance. So Preston is working with this group to accommodate what needs to be accommodated. If this does turn out to looking like it's gonna happen, I'm sure there'll be a lot of things we have to make it happen. So that's all I have. Thank you. Tina?
You have what I presented, and then I just wanted to give a quick update on the boat stickers, 691 total for motorized through the end of, oh, let's see. Oh, no, this is up to July 14th, and then 764 non-motorized. So a total of 1,455 stickers that have been sold.
How does that compare to previous years?
Not exactly
We
sure.
wouldn't really know.
Yeah, because it was.
This is our first time doing it,
Right.
so. Budget wise, I don't think we don't have all the expenses in there, so, cause we're, just revenues. I didn't have that comparison with me tonight, but I'll get that for you. And then, that was it. That's all I
You gotta
had.
have, you hired your business.
Oh, yes, and I have my new business manager, manager of business services. So she was the person that we had already working as our summer seasonal accountant. And so she applied and we offered her the position. So she officially started the duties of that this week, but she's also still doing all the summer stuff as well. So we're gonna integrate her in as we have one more absence that's coming. We just haven't, she's still with us, so, yeah. We're working on forging ahead, so. That's all I have.
We're on the downward side of summer. We have just a few more concerts left. We are in our final couple weeks of camp. It has been a great summer, so that's wonderful to report. Just one other number that I like to keep highlighting. Since June 1st until today, when we reopened the Nature Center, we're well past 9,000 visitors. So we are already at half of what we did all of last year, just in 2 months.
I took my daughter and my grandkids over there and I couldn't believe all the other people were just raving about it.
It's
It was great. My
It's
dad
been
even-
fantastic. Yep.
Okay, just our report as written, but the highlights, we have the fall guide, will be released August 16th. It'll go by mail to everybody in 6012 and 14. The digital guide, will be prepped and ready to go for registration, open the same day. And then we send out our August e-newsletter, that'll go out July 31st. And then when the fall guide comes out, we do an e-blast as well on that. And then staff will be submitting information for the fall park report, print newsletter, and that'll be anticipated end of October, October 25th-ish. And then we'll be sending the winter spring activity guide schedule out to staff.
Did you mention the park report, the recent one that went out? I had a quick blurb about the new park. And staff at the front desk had several phone calls from people saying, we drove by and we can't find it. They didn't read it close enough to find out it's being built and it's not there. So.
People are reading, that's good.
So excited.
So that storm we had the other night, Park District got through pretty good, had some damage. City, obviously, that hit. Wanted to point that out, so we're lucky there. I also wanted to make the board aware that a harvester for the lake has unfortunately been down for 2 weeks. We just got parts today. It came in. It's been kind of a struggle to kind of get these parts that we needed. We have them now, and we hope to get that harvester back out on the lake next week. And one thing we do is once we make sure these parts work and that they fit for this harvester, we're going to order extra parts out, so we have them on hand. Because part of the issue was that it took a while to get parts. So just wanted you guys to know, heads up.
So you anticipate that those parts can wear again?
They're actually breakaway parts, so they're meant to wear away. It's just getting them and stuff. So once we get them and confirm that everything is good to go, I'll make sure we have some extra.
So the cheap fixes, but they're meant to break there.
They are.
We were just kind of surprised they broke.
As soon as they.
Yeah, that was.
Dish now to make the jet ski, plastic, that's the hose. It breaks there all the time, but for a lake like ours, with gravel. you're gonna break the plastic.
Yeah, so getting more details, the sprockets that run the chains and, the hydraulic motors, and basically the sprockets are designed to break,
So it doesn't make sense.
correct. That's all I have.
Amy?
Oh, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Did they ever find the mortar?
Fireworks. The fire
Oh,
department.
I guess I should have commented on that.
That
I
was-
apologize. The 4th of July was crazy, or 7th of July was crazy. Staff did an outstanding job. Kurt and I were main beach from about 4 o'clock on. Fighting with the weather. Is it on? Is it off? What are we doing? And then finally, okay, it's ready to go and let's go sit down and at least we can end the day with a nice fireworks show and then that happens. So, the city did a nice job. There were some communication things we're gonna work on. Spoke with the fire chief about it and, we're gonna try to implement some things different next year if everyone's agreeable to it. But overall, staff did an outstanding job managing the situation that happened. From the Park District's perspective, we'd love for the parade route to remain the way it was this year because it made things at Main Beach a lot smoother in the morning, plus a lot less chaotic. But that storm that ripped through around 12:30 literally lifted everything up. It was kind of messy. So it was a crazy day, but you know, bottom line is nobody got hurt and they were able to shoot off a few of the fireworks after. So, and that was to lessen the load on the park so they could bring it in. So,
So did they find the,
there was only one. And
oh, it was just one?
Yeah.
Oh.
They searched the lake for 2 days and they found it. So
And we didn't have anything lost a bunch.
Just curious.
yeah, it was all good. Thanks for bringing that up. I should.
Yeah. What's this?
Who's got a range?
I'm glad you guys are gonna work on further communication, like implementing some kind of a system for them to communicate with us about.
My
relevant
suggestion
matters.
was to set up a control center at the beach and have a police representative, a fire representative, and a park district representative on the same, so that if something happens, communications. Because the way it was kind of happening, no, not as efficient as it could have been. So I've worked under that type of setup before, and it's very, so we'll see where it goes. But overall, good day for what it was. Amy, anything else?
I haven't started.
Well, anything else than what you've already?
Yeah, well, how like it, so really great news, the silt fence is going to be installed next Monday is the plan, and then the silos will start, they're gonna start the silos first, and then start clearing out the debris. It's gonna take a while to get the debris out. Some big piles there. So that's our start, we're gonna start next week. So excited. And then, yeah, I think that's good.
We were notified today that we would probably have to do a drain tile survey. So Amy reached out today at like 6 o'clock to see if they can get out there as soon as possible. If that takes a while, that's going to delay. Just sort of informed of that today.
We had shared some historical documentation that's not clear as whether we have drain tile or not. There's nothing we can find that there might be drain tile or might not be. The fact that it was mostly used for milk cow, cow and cheese milk production, that to me says perhaps no drain tile. And the fact that you go down, we had a soil scientist from Wisconsin come in and he asked if he could take some core samples of some of our soil types, and I led him to the Halligersburg Park because I thought, wow, easy access, right? And you go down less than 2 feet, you hit gravel, so it's very draining. Pretty draining after that point, especially at the high, the lower or upper level of the soil part. So that's good. So we'll see. I don't think there's any drain tile.
Okay. Anybody have anything from the board?
Good to hear about the harvester. It's gonna be a mess. You can see him right below the surface. I'd like to, so the email blast to regarding the lake hours. It's confusing on multiple levels. One, why is the park district saying that the lake hours? City, Lake City. Two, I think it was wrong. It caused confusion and animosity. So I think in the future, it should be we should leave that to the way it's always been for the village. So, what's that? And Jason probably agrees with me, and if so, I think we should have that on the agenda. Take action. Both action.
Only one person has to want something on the
President Kim with 2 people with 4.
I will say just one.
If it's objected. It's not objected to, who cares? It's not going to.
So discussion on who contact, who disseminates information.
Lake hours.
So the only thing I would say about that is not obtaining stickers. That's,
Well, our piece is ecology, clearly, and, I just think it's confusing, and again, caused animosity.
So, a lot of people are launching votes on our front.
So it was confusing because it came from us.
Yeah.
The reason it went out was because we have the information, Lakewood doesn't.
Yeah, it's
So-
confusing because it came from the park district, it's like, what is the village saying?
It came from the village.
Well, but it came from the park district. even.
The village gave us what to send out, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
So anyway, I'm gonna propose that we like to do this. So,
we'll have it for the committee of the whole.
Anything else from anybody else?
I do, I saw that Brian Young had emailed us at some point about the woman he wanted to name Hallebee's Park after and wanting something else. We didn't name the park after her. Have we responded to Brian and said, you can always, sponsor trees or benches in her name?
Do we know if he submitted, like, through the formal?
Do we have the name?
I
Yeah, I don't recall. I recall two names, but I think they were men, names of men.
He clearly, would like to see this happen, and I think trees or benches would be great.
I'll reach out to him.
Thank you.
Or even possibly like dedication plaque or something. Underneath the name or something.
Oh, yeah, I mean, underneath the tree or the bench, but yeah, it's a good way to get her name on it and to help build the park.
Anything else? Okay. I would like to make some closed session. Discussing roll call.
Commissioner Anderson? Yes. Commissioner Cagle?
Yes.
Commissioner Heisler?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner McDowell?
Yes. We have a motion to leave closed session and reconvene.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, well, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we're back. Now we're back.
I moved to end the meeting.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor? All right.